Alright, so this is my second time recording this video. I wanted to go ahead and re-record the video because I feel like the first time I just didn't really do a great job of showcasing some of the cards here. I definitely did skip over a lot of cards that maybe deserved a little bit more screen time than others. So let's just cut the chit chat and get straight into the meat and potatoes of this video and go on and move forward with the binder review. So for the first page, we do see a couple of Charizard cards here. Now, just like cold sores, they're just inevitable to happen. So with Charizard, although I'm not actively looking for Charizard cards to add to my collection, they just inevitably end up in here anyways. So a card that I wanted to take out here, if this can focus, was the Charmander from the McDonald's set. I believe this was in the early 2000s, like 2002. I'll go ahead and put up an image of the pack that you could pull this card from and general information about the set as well. So yeah, very nice quality. Japanese cards usually tends to have really nice quality. You can see the holo foil here as well. And I really miss the E-series cards, like where it had this kind of border for the cards. I really miss this kind of era. I know it was kind of like a hit or miss for some people. I know some people don't like it, but me personally, I just find it so charming, I guess you could say. Now there is a bit of a fingernail mark here on the back. I didn't notice this because when I first purchased this card, I got it graded in, I purchased it graded by CGC, and then I ended up cracking it out of the slab because I just wasn't really a fan of the CGC cards. And then that's when I noticed that it had that mark. Surprisingly though, CGC gave it like an 8 if I'm not mistaken, so I think that's pretty generous given the fingernail indent. Other notable cards from this page I would say is the Swampert EX and the Blaziken EX. Now something about these EX cards just is just great to me. I mean, I really adore these cards so much because it looks like the Pokemon is trying to, like, you know, escape the small rectangle that it's trapped in. Like this Swampert, for example, looks like it's trying to grab me by the neck. It's just really cool artwork, I think. We have the Blaziken here as well. And yeah, these cards are just really cool to me. So I don't have a lot of EX cards, but these two I just had to have in my personal collection. Now moving on, we have a Gengar EX Full Art. Now I know a lot of people aren't really big fans when it comes to the Full Art cards, but me personally, I think that if you are a big fan of a certain Pokemon like I am of Gengar, I think the Full Art cards in a way kind of just focus on the Pokemon itself, because although I like alternate art cards, I can sometimes feel that like the artwork around the Pokemon maybe distracts from the Pokemon itself. Sometimes it does highlight the Pokemon even better, like if it's like a scene where that Pokemon is centered around that artwork, like for example the Moltres from Chilling Reign. I think it can work. But I definitely appreciate the full art cards as well, because I mean the only thing you can really pay attention to is the Pokemon itself. The last card that I wanted to highlight was the Charizard from XY Evolutions. Now the only reason why I wanted to highlight this card before I move on to the next page is because the XY Evolutions set, when it first came out and even a few years after its release, it was pretty disliked. I wanted to highlight that because I think it's funny how like booster boxes of that set are like $800+. So that really goes to show that people's opinions doesn't really they don't really matter too much, because the only one entity that can pretty much determine like a set's value or a card's value is Father Time. Alright, so now we move on to the next page. As you can see to our right, we have a lot of Shining cards from the 2017 set Shining Legends. And to our left, we just have a mix of a different assortment of cards. Now, you are going to notice in this binder that there is no real order to cards. Some pages it makes sense, and then others it's just randomized. So this Alakazam EX is from Fates Collide. It does have that Umbreon and that Lugia in the background, and I just think this is a really cool card overall. This to me kind of seems like an artwork that predates alternate arts, because at this time I want to say they were just noted as like secret rares or something, you know, versus now where you have like special illustration rares. So this to me kind of feels like an alternate art card before alternate art cards. Next, I wanted to showcase these two cards. We have a Mew from Pokemon Rumble and then the Mewtwo from Pokemon Rumble. Now this set to me is pretty fascinating because I believe it was only available in a certain box. That box goes for so much money right now, and I definitely don't see myself purchasing any box like that anytime soon, unless I hit the lottery or something. So I really just wanted to pick up some singles from the Pokemon Rumble set, and I was lucky enough to find these two at a local card shop for a really low price. These cards are actually in really good condition, as you can see here. Like if there's any whitening at all, it's very, very minimal. Next up, I wanted to highlight these 4 cards right here. These 4 cards are available in the set called Call of Legends. Now you know how Pokemon does like certain series, like the Sun and Moon series, the Sword and Shield series, and right now us being in the Scarlet and Violet series. Well, the Call of Legends was like a series that only contained one set, that being Call of Legends. I'm really curious as to anyone watching this video, maybe you are also aware of this set, or maybe this is your first time seeing this set, but I'm kind of curious as to see what's your favorite legendary card from that Call of Legends set. I'll go ahead and post a picture of all of the shiny legendary cards that you can get from this set, and like I said, these are the only 4 that I have, but regardless, I'm just very lucky and happy to have these 4 in my collection to begin with. I would say my favorite though is probably the Groudon. Now very quickly before we move on to the next page, I just wanted to highlight these 2 cards as well. These 2 cards are promo cards from the Shining Legends set. I believe this one came in the Elite Trainer box, and this one came in like some premium collection box for the set. Now moving on to the next page, like I said, there's really no true order to this binder. So it kind of makes it fun, but to those who have a bit of OCD, I apologize in advance because this binder isn't organized to the best that it can be. A true example of this is the Mew and Mewtwo Pokemon Rumble cards being on the previous page, and then over here we just have the Bibarel and the Zapdos. Now these are the other 2 Rumble cards that I have, so it's just a total of 4. I don't have the entire set yet, but one Rumble card that I am looking towards obtaining for myself is the Gyarados Rumble card and the Pikachu Rumble card. But yeah, these 2 are really cool, and I just wanted to show these off as well. So before we move forward to the next page, I just wanted to take these cards out and showcase them because I think it was really cool of Pokemon to go ahead and do like a bit of a throwback to the old Shining cards from the Wizards of the Coast era. For example, the Shining Magikarp from Neo Revelation. I thought it was really cool of Pokemon to go ahead and do some more Shining cards for Pokemon that just didn't exist at the time. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next page. So here we are at the next page, and as you can see, there's still more shiny Pokemon. I am a huge shiny Pokemon collector, so that's probably going to be a reoccurring theme in this binder. We have the English Hawlucha, the Japanese Hawlucha, English Charizard, Japanese Charizard. There's a little bit of a theme here. For the most part, if the card has a Japanese counterpart, I do try to pick it up because I like seeing the difference in quality when it comes to US and Japan. One of my favorite cards from this page is the Rayquaza EX, and surprisingly this is just a promo card. Now I did get this card off of TCG Player maybe like a year ago, and to my surprise it came from TCG Player like in really good condition. I tend to have bad luck when it comes to TCG Player, like I'll buy a card that's deemed as near mint, and then when it shows up in the mail it has like edge wear all over, so I'm not sure why TCG Player allows sellers to sort of mislead a buyer into thinking that the card that they're getting is even better condition than what it really is. But yeah, to my surprise, the Rayquaza was in really, really good condition. So here we are in the next page, and this is one of my favorite pages out of the entire binder. Now the reason for this being is that if you take a look here at all these cards, there's something in common that they all have. Of course, excluding these 5, but the rest of these are actually all part of a subset where they had, you know, just regular Pokemon like Shinx, Bagon, Swablu, and they gave it shiny treatment. And these are all available in only reverse holo form. Now, I haven't really looked up the sets in a while, but I want to say some of the sets that these cards are included in is the Arceus set, I believe Stormfront, if I'm not mistaken. But these cards, I had no idea they existed until I saw this guy right here. This Vulpix card is the card that pretty much exposed me to the rest of those cards back in 2021. You know, like a true old soul, I was scrolling on Facebook and I ended up seeing a seller post a claim sale, which that's basically like an online sale or sometimes even like an online auction where they'll just like post a bunch of pictures of certain cards with a price tag, and then you'll have people in the comment section replying, you know, either that they're claiming the card at that price or they're throwing an offer. So anyways, I saw this Vulpix card there in this person's sale, and I was completely surprised seeing that this Vulpix card that I've never seen before had a price tag of like $30 at the time, or maybe $40. So I ended up doing some research. You know, I typed in the card number, the SH6, and that pretty much exposed me to the rest of those cards. So yeah, it took me a few months to complete the entire subset of these cards, but it was definitely worth it. Now, some notable ones to me personally was the Bagon, the Shinx, and the Melodic. And the reason why these three are notable to me is because these three were the hardest of all, I think 12 of them. These three were the hardest ones to get for me personally. The Bagon, it just took forever to find, you know, a seller that was selling this card in good condition. Like, any time that I had came across this card, there's like a dog hair or something for my dog, but anytime that a seller was selling this card, it was either like bent up or like insanely scratched, like in the back and in the front. So yeah, it took me forever to find like a decently conditioned one. Like, as you can see here, there's really not that much of surface wear, but yeah, it took me forever just to find like a really good conditioned Bagon card. For the Shinx, this one, I just got it in a really good condition and at a very, very good price, because at the time, I think the card was worth like $70 some or $100, which at the time, it was hard to justify like spending that much on a single card. And even now, to a certain extent, like it's pretty hard justifying spending that much on a card. But this, I believe I got it for like $50 or less on an eBay auction. So that's why this one is notable to me. And then finally, the Melodic. This one, again, just like the Bagon, it was just hard to find in really good condition. So once I found one that was in really good condition, I just had to buy it. And I believe this one was actually the last card that I needed in order to complete the subset. So, you know, the first one being the Vulpix and the last one being the Melodic. Now, here we are at the beginning of the Evolutions pages. You'll see as we continue forward in this video, there's going to be a lot of evolutions in this binder, but this is the beginning of it, and one Greninja. So here's the Greninja card before I toss it to the side. But yeah, it looks like we're missing one though. So we have the Umbreon VMAX here in a PSA 10. Now the only reason why this is the only card that is graded is because I want to say the other ones I've just been kind of too scared to send off. There might be like a couple VMAX cards that are a bit off-centered. Some of the V cards as well are a little bit off-centered, so that's why I've kind of just kept them in the binder. But this one, I got this one off of TCG Player, which surprisingly, like, I ended up sending it into PSA and I got a 10. So that's something that I feel doesn't really happen too often, getting cards from TCG Player, sending them off to get graded, and then they come back a 10. But this one did it. So, I'm very happy with that. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the Evolution V and V Maxes when it comes to Evolving Skies. And then of course that one Espeon from Fusion Strike. One that sticks out to me out of all of these evolutions is the Leafeon VMAX. Now my reason for this is because where I live right now and growing up, maybe the past couple of years, my family would have us like pick up hay bales, whether that be the round bales with machines or the square bales by hand. We would end up stacking them up on trailers, and then, you know, that hay would get sold. So maybe that's why the Leafeon VMAX kind of sticks out to me, because it kind of reminds me of, you know, that part of my life. Now, I didn't live this life for so long. I want to say that whole, you know, era of picking up hay bales maybe was like 2 or 3 years, but regardless, like, that's what that reminds me of. So I think that's why the Leafeon VMAX is pretty special to me. Alright, so when I said that, you know, there would be more evolutions to see in this binder, I really meant it. On the left hand side here, we can see the Pokemon and Unigaba collaboration. Now, Unigaba is an artist, I believe, in Japan, and he first did the Unigaba and Pokemon collaboration with the Pikachu card, but he then ended up doing it with the Evolution cards, and I think that this artwork is just really cool, in my opinion. Very simplistic, but there's just something about simplicity that I really enjoy. So right here we have the Umbreon from that collaboration set, and I believe this set, I want to say I picked up for around $100, excluding the Umbreon though. When I picked up the set, I had no idea that the Umbreon was not included, so when these when these 8 came in the mail, I was like really caught off guard. I thought that I got scammed or something, but then I ended up looking at the listing again, and even in the pictures, like, Umbreon was not seen. So I guess I just, you know, kind of missed that. But I picked up the Umbreon later on from a different seller on eBay, and so that pretty much completed my set. But at the time, I think I got the set for around $100, and then the Umbreon, I got it in a lot that I want to say costed me $50. But of course that lot had like 2 other cards, so the Umbreon was a lot cheaper. So I would say I probably completed the entire set at the time for maybe like $120 or $130. I'm not sure how much the set goes for today, but if you can pick up this set, I would definitely recommend to do so, because to me it's just a beautiful set. Like, if you are an Evolution collector, I think that set would go really well in your Evolution collection. Now over here on the right hand side, we have the evolutions from, I believe this was Brilliant Stars, that these 3 came in, and then we have the Evolution Full Art cards from Evolving Skies, which again, I already said why, you know, I really enjoy full art cards. And then down here we have these 3 from a set called Generations. I believe Generations was the 20th year anniversary set for Pokemon, just how like Celebrations was the 25th year Pokemon set. So yeah, taking a look at these 3 evolution cards, I just really like the artwork on them. Like, I don't know, man, the EX cards, whether it be the lowercase EX or the uppercase EX, I just think they were done so well. You know, we have the Pokemon popping out of the rectangle as well on these cards, and I don't know, they're just a really cool set of cards, and I think the Generation set is a really, really nice Pokemon set. Alright, I think we are at the last page of Evolutions. Okay, yeah, we definitely are at the last page of Evolutions, so let these Evolutions soak in, because as we move forward, there might still be a little bit of Evolutions that make an appearance, but I want to say this is the last page where like every slot is an Evolution. So taking out a few cards, we have the Umbreon EX. I believe this is from X and Y Fates Collide. This card, I really like it. I can't remember where I picked it up from, but I think majority of the card being black makes it look super sleek and just very clean. So I just think that this is a really nice Umbreon EX card, and I don't think it's too expensive either. Next up, we have these 3 cards from the Generation set, which again, like I said, this set is very well done when it comes to the Pokemon that they chose, and then the artworks that they gave those Pokemon. Like, this Flareon EX full art is super cool. Like, it has the Jolteon on the right hand side and then the Vaporeon on the left hand side. I think for a while this card was very, very undervalued, but I think now it's kind of gaining the value that I think it deserves. Then we have the Sylveon EX cards. We have the Sylveon EX and then the Sylveon EX full art. I think these are some great Sylveon cards. I know that Sylveon is a very, very popular Pokemon and evolution, so if that's your kind of stuff, I think these 2 cards are definitely worth picking up if you don't have them in your collection already. Next up we have these Vaporeon cards, and personally I am a huge Vaporeon fan. And no, before you start typing things, it's not because of that, alright? I'm not that kind of Vaporeon fan. You know, I have some dignity, alright? And I have some self-awareness. So I'm not that kind of Vaporeon fan. I just simply like water types in general, so naturally I tend to gravitate towards like Vaporeon when it comes to evolutions. Now this Vaporeon, it is a Black Star promo from the Black and White era. I know that there's the promos for all the other evolutions and Eevee as well, but that is such an expensive set, and from that set, the Vaporeon is the only one that I have. Next up, we have the Vaporeon promo card as well. Like, I know it has the set symbol and the number. I think this is from XY Ancient Origins, but this is one of those promos that like Pokemon takes like a card from a set and then just gives it like hollow foil treatment. But I think this one did come from a tin that I got from Dollar General, if I'm not mistaken. And lastly, we have Vaporeon from, I believe it's EX Unseen Forces. This one is pretty beat. I want to say that I was supposed to get a near mint copy, but the seller ended up sending me I guess you could say this is like moderately played, because there is some like edge wear and back wear, and then you have that ding on the side as well. So I ended up getting a refund for this one. You know, I had contacted the seller. I did let him know like that, you know, it was advertised as a near mint copy and that I would like to return it. But then he ended up just refunding me my money, and he was like, you know, you can go ahead and keep the Vaporeon card if you'd like. So that was pretty cool of him. But you know, this card to me, I just really like the artwork of it, and so yeah, I just had to have it in my personal collection. We of course have some shiny GX cards from Hidden Fates. That set Hidden Fates, I wanted to complete it for so long, but there's just so much money in that set that I just couldn't keep up, so I ended up selling most of the shiny cards, and I just kept a couple that, you know, I really like. You've probably seen some already in previous pages. I know there was a Darkrai, and you're probably going to see some more in the pages to come, because yeah, I just had so much cards from that set, but like I said, I just was never able to complete it. These cards right here, the Leafeon and the Glaceon V-Star cards, these are from Crown Zenith. And honestly, Crown Zenith, I know it hasn't really been in the spotlight as of recently, but when the set first came out, that's like all that anybody could ever talk about, for good reason, because those cards in that set are just very, very beautifully designed and illustrated, that I think most Crown Zenith cards should do well in the future. So I'm very glad to have the Leafeon V-Star and the Glaceon V-Star. Alright, so next page we have some alternate art cards, and this one is a, well, it's labeled as a special illustration rare, but I mean, come on, we all know that that's still an alternate art card. Now if you see some doubles, like we have for the Duraludon V and like the Regidrago V, Honchkrow, like if you see any duplicates of certain cards, it's more than likely because those cards at the time were very cheap, so I ended up picking like up another copy of that card. But for other ones, I mean, you know, I really just have like one copy for my personal collection. This one is probably my favorite card out of the entire page, because I am a huge Gardevoir fan, and again, you know, just like the Vaporeon situation, alright, I'm not a Gardevoir fan for that reason. I just really like the Gardevoir card, and when I was really into Pokemon Go, like the battling aspect of it, Gardevoir was one of my main Pokemon that I would use in that you know, battling kind of scene for Pokemon Go. So I just really ended up liking Gardevoir because, well, I see it with most people. Like, if a person is playing a Pokemon game and they have a certain Pokemon in their team, and then that Pokemon becomes like a really, really good part of their team, then they kind of like end up really liking that Pokemon outside of that game itself. So that's pretty much the same thing with Gardevoir. I think my team consisted of Alolan Muck, Gardevoir, and Togekiss. Sometimes it would be Togekiss, other times it'd be Metagross, so that's pretty much my team on Pokemon Go at the time. So yeah, Gardevoir has just been one of my favorite Pokemons since, so I just naturally really, really like this card, and the artwork as well is just really nice. Another one of my favorites is the Origin Form Palkia V. This one kind of reminds me of like Doctor Strange almost, like how he kind of morphs reality into what he seems fit. So that's what kind of reminds me of this card, because everything is like upside down and inside out. It's just so like crazy to me, and so the artwork is just very cool, in my opinion. The only downside to this though is that a seller on Facebook, they did like deem this card as near mint, but you can see like the bottom here is not near mint at all. Like I would probably classify this card as lightly played. So I ended up bringing it to the seller's attention, and they ended up giving me like a partial refund, which I mean, I didn't mind. You know, they ended up giving me pretty much the difference between like a near mint copy and then a lightly played copy. They ended up sending that difference back to me, so you know, it all worked out. The next page we have here is some more alternate art cards, and then we have a Ho-Oh GX from Hidden Fates. Now, alternate art cards, I mean, we've seen them go up in price and then we've seen them come down in price. I want to say they might be like on the upwards trend again. I'm not too sure. I'd have to like take a look at that. But the alternate art cards to me are just so special, because I mean, you can take a Pokemon that like most people don't really care about, like the Skuntank V. Like you can take a Pokemon like that and then give it like an alternate artwork special treatment, and it just like looks very, very like good, you know. It looks really good, and although I'm not a Skuntank fan, this card to me is like really cool, because it shows like the Skuntank, you know, storing food away, and then you have like the Paris in the back, or not really in the back, but like above ground. And I don't know, it's just really cool. Kind of gives you like an insight of the Pokemon's day-to-day activities. Now this Galarian Slowking V, this one is special to me because it was a birthday gift from a friend, and I also really just like the artist Tamukazu. He has a lot of great artwork when it comes to the Pokemon TCG, and I've even followed him on Instagram, and he has really cool artwork as well on his page. So yeah, I really like this card just because of the, you know, personal attachment to it and the artist as well. Like I just think this artwork is super, super cool, and yeah, I just really wanted to show this card. Now the last card that I wanted to showcase before we move on to the next page was the Celebi V. I believe this one originally was like a Japanese promotional card, if I'm not mistaken, and then of course they brought it into the, I believe this is Fusion Strike set. So I thought that was really cool, and yeah, I just really like this Celebi card. So the next page we have here, you can see there's a little bit more alternate art cards, and then we kind of start moving into the tag team era. So for the alternate art cards, I'm going to showcase this Jolteon, because this one I did get it from a card shop maybe a few months ago, and it's like really, really off-centered. I mean, that centering is just so bad, but I picked this card up for $3, which I mean, I think that's really cool, you know. Not the best condition, like I think there's just a little bit of edge wear, like right there, or maybe that's the printing of this card. I'm not sure, because it was a promo, and promotional cards in the US tend to be like really bad quality wise, but getting this for $3, I mean, you can't really complain. Next up we have a Reshiram and Zekrom GX, and just like the Bagon, this card was so hard for me to find in good condition. Like I ordered one off of eBay, and in the pictures that they posted, it looked like it was in really good condition, but then upon receiving the card, I noticed that there was some indents on the back that weren't properly shown on the images, so I ended up having to return that card to the seller and then getting a refund from eBay. But yeah, this card, I was able to find it in really good condition. Don't worry guys, I washed my hands before recording this video, but yeah, I found this card in really good condition and very well centered too, I might add. But this one, I got it from a card show, maybe like a few months ago from recording this video as well. But who knows, maybe this is a card that I can submit to PSA. Maybe it'll get a 10, maybe it won't because my greasy fingers. I have no idea, but regardless, this is one of my favorite cards. I know that N is a popular trainer, and I really like this trainer as well, but the Reshiram and the Zekrom in the background, it just looks super cool with N's pose and those Pokemon on his side. The last two cards that I wanted to showcase was the Espeon and Deoxys GX and the Umbreon and Darkrai GX. These two cards came from like a special collection box. I bought it at GameStop. I think I was in either Corpus Christi, Texas or San Antonio, Texas. I can't remember, you know, what part of Texas I was in, but I bought the box from GameStop at the time and I opened it up and, you know, no surprise, pulled absolute hot garbage. But, you know, these two promos came out of that box, so I mean, I couldn't really complain. But my only regret though is that at the time of, you know, the release of that box, these promos were very cheap. They were very, very cheap, and I just didn't pick up any because, well, I mean, I already had them in my collection, so that was good enough for me. But I should have been thinking like long-term value, because, you know, although Pokemon card investing tends to get hated on, I can kind of see the good to it too. For me, for example, there are a couple of sealed products and a couple of single cards that I kind of like invest in. You know, I plan on buying them now and then selling them off later. But the purpose of me doing so is that way, you know, I can take that money and then put it back into my collection. So that's kind of how I justify it. I know that that's not the case for everybody, but for me, that's kind of how I do it. So all I'm saying is I wish I would have picked up more copies of these cards when I had the chance to, because now these are getting a bit more expensive. But regardless, I am glad that I at least have one copy of each in my personal collection, because these are some really, really nice cards. And, you know, although they're getting a bit more expensive, if you don't have them already, I think it's still pretty good, you know, price point to buy these cards if you're looking to add more to either your Evolution collection or your tag team collection, or maybe you're just a big fan of Darkrai or Deoxys. Alright, so here we are at the next page, and I think this one I'm probably going to make the thumbnail because there's just so many crazy cards on these two pages alone. I will go ahead and move into the gold stars in just a little bit, but I wanted to show off some of the tag teams more. So I just wanted to take out these cards just to show off. Now, of course, I wish that I could go through each and every single one card at a time, but then the video would be super long if I did that. So these cards are just some that stick out to me, whether it be artwork or just the way that I got them. This Slowpoke and Psyduck card, I got this one from a trade. I actually traded an Arceus V-Star card from Crown Zenith, the gold one, because at the time these two cards were the same price, but now that's not the case. But I ended up getting this card from that trade. And then this one here sticks out to me because I want to say this one might have been my first tag team alternate art card that I got for my collection, if I'm not mistaken. But I got this one off of eBay for a whopping $25. It's just crazy to me how these cards were available at that price point at a certain time. Like, yeah, this was $20 or so, or $25. So I picked it up, but now that's, you know, not the price point of this card. Next up, we have the Solgaleo and the Lunala GX. And this card sticks out to me because I believe this card was pulled by my cousin. I think he pulled this card if I'm not mistaken, but he tried selling it off, and at the time I can't really remember how much it was. It might have been like $50 that he tried selling it for. Nobody wanted this card. I ended up getting this card when I bought it off of him. I think I bought it in like a collection that I bought from him, if I'm not mistaken. But now this card is worth a lot of money, and you know, if I were to put this card up on Facebook or eBay, I would have so many people reaching out trying to buy this card. But to me, it's just funny how like back then nobody was willing to pay like $50 for this card, but if I posted this card for $50, I would have so many buyers. The last card that I wanted to go over for the tag teams was the Magikarp and Wailord card. This one is my personal favorite. Like, out of all the tag team cards, I think this one might be my favorite. Like, if I had to pick one and just stay with one forever, it would definitely be this one. Next up, we have this special Alakazam card. Now, it's special because the way that you got this card was pretty interesting. You would have to mail your Kadabra card to, I can't remember where, but then they would end up sending you the Alakazam card. Now, of course, you had to live in Japan in order to do this, and of course, there was a certain time window where you could do this. So this card is pretty rare. I think it's still pretty expensive, but this one, I got it off of Facebook, and it's a really clean copy in my opinion. The only thing that's kind of weird to me is that there are these white spots throughout the card, like over here too. There's a couple of white spots that you could see here. The seller told me that it was just missing ink, which I believe that can be considered an error. However, of course, this is still a raw copy, so that hasn't been authenticated just yet. But regardless, whether it is an error or it's damage, I really don't care because I just really like this card at the end of the day. Next up, we have the Gold Star cards, and I really think that this should be, the thumbnail of the video. But yeah, we have these Gold Star cards here. We have the Raikou Gold Star, and we have the Suicune Gold Star, the Entei Gold Star, and the Metagross Gold Star. Now, I do not mean to flex super hard, but these are not the only Gold Star cards that I have. I have more Gold Stars than this, but they're all graded, so I'm thinking of making a follow-up video for my graded collection. As you can see here, they are all in like really good condition. Like, these should probably be on their way to PSA. I've thought about submitting them to PSA, but at the same time, like, I kind of like the way that they look in the binder. Now, I do have a lot of graded cards, but then there's also that part of me that kind of feels like graded cards are a little bit of a scam. Like, they're kind of tiptoeing around the scam area, because you'll have cards where they're supposed to be like a high grade, but then PSA ends up giving them some very low grade, and they don't tell you why. Some people say that that's just to control population. Other people make jokes and say that the PSA grader was just having a bad day, or like they broke up with their significant other and so they're giving you a 6 when you should be earning like a 9 on that card. So I don't know, I just kind of feel iffy about sending these cards to get graded by PSA or just graded in general. But either ways, I think they look really cool in the binder. And yeah, I don't know, I just really like Gold Star cards. Obviously it's taken me a while to accumulate the Gold Star collection that I have right now, but definitely worth it. I know that Gold Stars are highly sought after in the Pokemon TCG hobby, and so I don't know, I'm just really glad to have them in my personal collection. Next up, we have a couple more EX cards, and then there's kind of just other randomized like special illustration rares here. I really like all these cards, throughout all of these pages in this binder. And I mean, of course, it's my personal collection, so of course I like the cards. But this one really sticks out to me because, again, I'm a huge Magikarp fan, and the art style of this card is just, I don't know, it's just really nice to me. This card has blown up in price, as you can see here. Definitely blown up in price since the release of it. Part of me feels like it's too expensive, but then the other part of me kind of like justifies it because it is somewhat of a hard pull, and the art style and like the artwork of it, I don't know. That's why I'm saying, like, part of me feels like it's overpriced right now, and then another part of me feels like that price is justified. Next up, we have some of the I think this is the trainer gallery. Yeah, we have trainer gallery, I think like Galarian gallery on some of them. I don't know, there's so many terms nowadays for some Pokemon cards. This is a really nice page. I just really like the art styles of some of these cards. Here's some more of those Hidden Fate cards that I was talking about. This one right here, very special to me because it was a birthday gift from my cousin. The cousin that I bought that Solgaleo and Lunala off of, it's the same cousin that gave me this card, and I don't know, I really like this card ever since the release of this set and the release of this card from Silver Tempest. Yeah, I just had to check that real quick. But ever since that, like, this has been one of my favorite cards because I've always thought Rosa was a cool trainer, and Superior, really great Pokemon. So I don't know, and just the background of it as well, like, I think this card is super undervalued, but to me, I mean, I see it as a great way for others who are fans of either Rosa or Superior or just like the artwork. I find that it's a good thing that maybe the card is cheap because it makes people who want this card, it makes it easier for them to obtain it. The last card that I want to showcase from this page is this Hoopa promo. I'm not sure the origins of this promo, but I'll put up something on the screen right now that sort of summarizes where it's from. But I thought this card was a really cool card when I first saw it. I came across it on eBay, and I just ended up buying like a sealed version of it. And this was the sealed version of it. I ended up opening it up for my TikTok, which I'll link in the description below if you want to check that out. But yeah, I thought this was a really cool Hoopa card. And although I'm not like the biggest fan of Hoopa, I think the Mega Latios, I think this is the Mega Latios. If I'm incorrect, then I do apologize. But the Mega and like the Lugia in the far back of there, and then obviously like the shiny Rayquaza, I thought it was a really cool card, so I just had to have it. But Japan, man, Japan has like some of the coolest promotional cards that we just never see in the US. So moving on to this next page, there are a couple of missing cards here. I'm not sure why they're missing though. I don't know if I took any of them out or what happened to those cards. I don't know, maybe I got robbed overnight while I was in a deep sleep. But yeah, these are kind of just a random mix of cards. We have the Alakazam EX from the 151 set, which, let's see if I can focus, which that set has been going absolutely hog wild as of recent. Like, people are, trampling other people, they're pushing each other, biting each other's ears off like they're Mike Tyson for some 151 packs. So, me instead, I'd rather just avoid all that conflict, and I just, pretty much stick to buying singles for that set. Now, here we have a Gardevoir page, and then of course we have a Pikachu page. These two Pikachus are just here just to fill up the space, but this Pikachu card. So this Pikachu, probably my favorite card from the Sword and Shield era, because the artwork of it is just really nice to me. I know I sound like a broken record saying, oh, this card is beautiful, this card is beautiful. It's not my fault, okay? Pokemon just hires some really talented artists to work on cards like this. So if I sound like a broken record for that, I do apologize. But yeah, there's just so many nice cards in the Pokemon TCG. I really think this Pikachu is heavily undervalued. Now that's not why I bought so many copies, right? I just really like this card that I thought it'd be cool to have a whole page of this card. So, I'm not trying to pump up this card and then dump it later on. I just really like the artwork of this card, but I do think that it is undervalued. Now, before we move on, I just wanted to highlight this Gardevoir EX Special Illustration Rare, because the other cards that go with this Gardevoir, like the Kirlia and the Ralts, I don't think they're too expensive, like all three of them together, but they tell a really nice story. And whenever Pokemon does that with the cards, like whenever they have like two cards together that tell a story, or like three cards or whatever, like I think it's really cool that Pokemon does that. And in a way, like, it makes those cards even more sought after, because people are trying to like have those like little Pokemon stories in their binder. And yeah, I think it's just really cool. Next up, we have a couple of trainer cards, and then we have some Gyarados cards. Gyarados, and Magikarp, like I said so many times throughout the video, are some of my favorite Pokemon in the Pokemon universe. We have this red Gyarados from Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and I can't remember how much I picked this up for, but it's a pretty valuable card. And I don't know, it's just super cool. Like, it kind of reminds me of the Shining Gyarados from the Neo Revelation set. So I'm not able to afford that card, so I just had to take this copy of a Gyarados card because it just reminds me of that card so much. Now, this is a Japanese card, clearly. I can't remember the set that it's from, but I'll put it here on the screen if I end up finding it. But this card, I mean, again, it just goes to show that sometimes Japan just gets way better treatment than the US, because this card is only available in Japan, I believe. And yeah, we just never saw this card get created in the US for like an English set or like an English promotional card. And we're more than likely like never gonna get this either, because I believe this is from the Sun and Moon era, and we're not doing Sun and Moon anymore with Pokemon, so I think this card is only going to be ever available in Japan. The last card that I wanted to showcase is this Gyarados card, because like I said with the Alakazam EX, I really think that these cards were like the alternate art cards before alternate art cards, and I think they're really nice, like with the gold border, and the texture as well on them is just really cool. We have the shiny Gyarados with the Greninja, and oh man, at the time of recording this I cannot think of the name of this Pokemon, so I do apologize to those who, you know, really like that Pokemon. Next we have some more illustration rares and like trainer galleries, all that kind of stuff. Here's the Curlia. This one I ended up pooling with my girlfriend in the car one time. I have yet to get the Rolts, but I will probably get that down the road. The Drowsy card is very well done with the illustration. I don't know, I just like the silly looking faces of the people and the Drowsy like laughing menacingly. So yeah, this is a very cool card in my opinion. Next up we have some more illustration cards along with the secret rare cards from the Cosmic Eclipse set. This Piplup is probably one of my favorite cards, and I think I've pulled this card about 3 times, but I only have 1 copy because the other 2 I either sold them or traded them in the past. This page are the Master Balls from the 151 set. As you can kind of see, it has like the Master Ball stamp on the holofoil. So yeah, all these cards on this page are the Master Ball cards. Now, they are going to be bringing the Master Ball cards to English with the Prismatic Evolution set, so that set is going to go absolutely crazy because prior to that set being announced, Japan was the only, well, the Japanese 151, I should say, was the only set that ever had like the Pokeball Reverse Holos and the Master Ball Reverse Holos. The next page we have a couple of full art cards, and then we have some holographics from like 2004 and 2009, you know, some older cards here. Over here we have the legendary birds Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. These are secret rares from the Supreme Victor set, and I'll go ahead and highlight these cards in a bit, but I just wanted to show these cards over here. These cards did come from a God pack, if you believe it or not. Came from a God pack from the Japanese 151. I was not the person who pulled these cards. It was actually my girlfriend. We were opening a box, just us two, and yeah, she ended up pulling like a God pack. She's not really into Pokemon. Like, she'll open up some packs, but she's not really like into it on her own. She'll just open up packs with me, but she was so confused and caught off guard by my reaction, and I just had to like quickly explain to her the significance of a God pack and like how rare a God pack is. So, you know, after explaining it to her, then she kind of had like a little bit of a late reaction of excitement. Yeah, we're almost done with the binder here, but I wanted to showcase these cards real quick. Like I said, these cards did come from the Supreme Victor set, and I don't know, these cards, man, are just super cool. I usually like to showcase them like this because it looks like the Zapdos is like the center of attention, and then you have like the Articuno and Moltres flying in opposite ways, although I think they're numbered differently. Now, the way that they are numbered, they should be in this order, but I feel like that looks kind of awkward compared to this order that I prefer them to be in. The Zapdos card, I ended up getting it from this website called Collector's Cash, and then of course, you know, after doing more research on the set itself, I ended up seeing that the Articuno and the Moltres also had a secret rare like slot in that set, and that these three were pretty much supposed to go together. So it took me a while to get these cards all together. It took me a while, and actually now that I am lining up the images, it looks like they are supposed to be like this. So I'm not sure why they're numbered that way then, because if you can kind of see like the yellow kind of bleeding into the Moltres card and then bleeding into the Articuno card as well, like it looks like it is supposed to be like this. I don't know why I've never noticed that before. This is actually my first time noticing that, but that's really cool having it this way. So yeah, I think it's kind of stupid that they numbered it a different way then. I don't know, that just makes no sense to me. Now we are going to be ending it off on this page right here. We just have a couple of holographics from like the early mid 2000s, but yeah, these are some of my favorite cards. I mean, I have a couple Swampert cards here, as you can see, a Togekiss and a Togetic, and then we have a Torterra, a Japanese Torterra card that I picked up from, I believe it's called Mercado District. It's in my area, and so I ended up going over there like a couple times, and there was like a Pokemon shop, either one or two of them, that would sell these cards for like $1. So picking up this card for $1, I mean, that's an absolute win, even though it might not be in the best condition. Or actually, no, this one is. Wow, I never noticed this card in this condition. I thought that this one was in worse condition, but apparently not. So yeah, this is a really cool Torterra card. I don't know, I really like Torterra ever since like elementary. I want to say I had a Torterra eraser in like first grade, so I've always liked the Torterra and the Evolution line. So, you know, when I saw this card in Japanese, and of course being only $1, like, it's just a no-brainer. I had to pick it up. Ending it off on this Swampert from EX Emerald. This one I got it from eBay, but yeah, there's really not much else to say. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. That's pretty much the entirety of my binder collection for this binder. I have a second binder, and of course I have like some sealed product and graded cards that I'll show off in later videos, but this one is really like my main personal collection binder. Hope this video wasn't too long. If it was, hopefully, you know, you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next video.